your goals, aspirations, and ambition to become a pharmacist. That's life. Ups and downs in life. Okay, now I have visited your assignment. There are some who have not yet submitted their activity number 6, no? Because nagulat pa sa deadline. When is the deadline, Brian? The family name ni mo, Brian? 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 Brian. When is the deadline for activity number 6?
Tomorrow po, Doc, 5 p.m.
Okay. Now, I just would like to remind those who have not yet submitted, or if you have submitted, maybe you can make some edition, you can edit pa. I have observed that the images are so big that I cannot read the font anymore. Now, importante ang font, importante ang narratives, importante ang messages that I should read. Dili na hinoon readable ang mga messages. Ang mga definitions, ang mga discussions, they are not readable anymore. Especially those who are using light colors. Bisan pag i-zoom na ko, lahi gyud, and that affects your grade because presentation would entail the readability of your kanang font, no, of your what we call this, of your answers, of your definitions, discussions, and etc. Ang mga narrative type. No? So make it sure nga readable na siya. I know that you can read the font. Bisan pa i-zoom na ko, it would really be not so satisfactory. No? Okay. So that's a reminder. Okay, for those who have submitted, you may edit. Wala pa na ako i-check. Wala pa na ako i-graduhan. You still have the chance. Okay. How was your journey in the activity number 6? Althea? Nakasubmit na ka, Althea?
Yes, Doc.
And then how was your journey? Did you have difficulty in research? Kay kuan raman siya, you can find everything in the internet.
Okay man, Doc. Okay man.
Okay ra. So what is the reason why others have still to wait the deadline, no? Okay. I am so happy for those who have already submitted and na-enjoy na ko og reading your assignment, your activity, and of course the presentations. Nag-enjoy na ko. And then in my presentation also, of course, I cannot have the same presentations as what you have submitted. I'm not so I don't know so much about how to make those kanang mga images or wala. I am not so good in that. So I am just giving you the narrative or the discussion. Na? Okay, I hope that will satisfy you. Okay, what I'm going to discuss with you today. Okay, may present now my slide. Okay, mamumusta sa ako ninyo. Alea, Rio, kumusta ka?
Okay lang, Doc.
What do you mean okay? You're healthy, you feel good?
I feel fine, Doc.
Oh, healthy ra ka, you feel good today. What about Justin? Justin?
Okay lang, Doc.
Dili ko satisfied anang okay. What do you mean okay? What do you mean okay? Elaborate your okay. Isa tong nag-raise. I can see you. Kisa tong nag-raise. Okay, you may have the floor now.
Doc, I'm so sorry,
Yes.
Doc. Na-click lang na po, Doc. Yung
Okay.
button.
But maybe you want to share what are your feelings or what are your what you feel this morning? Are you
Ah,
tuned up na for the today's activity?
yes, Doc. I wake up early, Doc, so that
Mhm.
I can prepare myself for this class. But as of the moment, Doc, I have colds since last night,
Oo.
and I am recovering from it. But all is good, Doc.
Okay. But you know what to do naman kung naakay calls. And that is very alarming na dayon no, na dayon tay connections or whatever. But you already know what to do, how to manage yourself. So the that challenges will be addressed immediately. No, take a lot of water. Mr. Ray, take a lot of water. Okay, so I'm going to discuss with you this morning. Share na. Okay, I'm going to share with you this morning the role of the pharmacist in research. Now, this is a continuation of the role of pharmacist that I gave you as an activity or assignment number 6, which are the roles of pharmacy in community pharmacy and hospital pharmacy. No, that was the assignment or the activity. Now let's discuss today the role of pharmacists in research. All of you are familiar what research is. And research is also one of the courses that you are going to undergo in the third year. This will be a 1 year course in which in the first semester you do some research. You're going to have your title and then the literatures that are needed. And in the second semester, you are going to defend your thesis. Now, that is your first, I think, your first activity or acquaintance on how scientific research or research all research are scientific man no, but this research that you are going to undergo in the third year is is essential in your research when you will be in your field of study, no, in your courses rather sa inyong profession kung ma-licensed pharmacist na mo. Okay. And specifically, we are going to go into the drug discovery and development, hospital pharmacy, clinical pharmacist, the role of the pharmacist in research in drug discovery and development, hospital pharmacy, and clinical pharmacy. Now, drug discovery and development, this is essential, or this is our one of the one of the major activities or responsibility of the pharmacist. Now, pharmacy is important in the molecular design of new drugs, clinical evaluation of drugs, and the design of drug delivery system. Future demands of pharmaceutical scientists will increase even more markedly than over the past 3 years. But unless we begin right now to prepare for that eventuality, the demand will not be met. In other words, the pharmacists are really involved in anything about drugs. In the design of new drugs, in the clinical evaluation, when we talk about clinical evaluation of drugs, that involve what, people, and how the drug should be designed to reach the target organs. So there would be an increased demand for pharmaceutical scientists. So if you want to be one of them, then that would be a good ambition or a good motivation for you to be a pharmaceutical scientist. Okay, this is just a bird's eye view on drug discovery and development. So these are the steps or the journey on how the drugs are discovered and developed. So in the first step, you have the drug discovery. It could be taken from plants, or it may be from it may be synthetically made. Then next step for that, if there is the discovery of drug, it will be tested preclinically. When we talk of preclinical development of drug, this would use animals. It would be employed to animals. And what are the activities of the drug? We are going to study on the pharmacokinetics of the drug using test animals, then the toxicology, formulation of drugs, and the synthesis scale up to the drug prior to the clinical development or clinical phase or clinical trials. And in the clinical trials, this time you're going to use people. No? So you have the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So these are the requisites for phase 1, the pharmacokinetics, the tolerability, the side effects in healthy volunteers. So in phase 1, the people used here are healthy individuals. In phase 2, this is to assess the efficacy of the drug and the dosage in phase 2. In phase 3, you're going to use large number of people that are to be tested for the effectivity of the drug. No? So phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and this will take 5 to 7 years. Now, this is the normal flow of the discovery of drug and development. Now, however, in this vaccine na to nga short na kaayo, and using technology now, they can scale up or they can make or manufacture the drugs using technology. So there were a lot of questions regarding the formulation of vaccine kay nganong kajutra kuno because normally the the development of the drug takes years. Kay kanilang gani ang clinical development, it takes 5 to 7 years. So that is why nga dunay mga controversy issues on the manufacture of the drug. However, because of technology, they can have it in a short time. Then after passing the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, regulatory approval will follow. Then it will be marketed, it will be distributed to the community or to the people. When they are, even if they are already in the market, there is still the phase 4, which is the post-marketing surveillance. This will monitor the adverse effects, the tolerability, or whatever effectiveness or adverse reactions that the patients will develop or encounter. It will be reported, and that is done in the post-marketing. Meaning to say, it's going on na ang paggamit sa drugs, but going on pa, or still going on ang observation sa drugs, because there are some drugs that after several times kagigamit or in different countries, people have adverse effects. And that is also the role of the pharmacist to report on any adverse effects that the patient encounter or experience in the use of drug. As a matter of fact, especially in clinical pharmacy sa hospital, this is operational na adjunct reporting sa adverse effect of drug. And if ever there is or there are adverse effects, daghan nang naka-experience of adverse effects of the drug, then the drug will be pulled out from the market. So, it doesn't mean nga after approval na siya, end na siya sa development of the drug, and na siya, dili mo continue lang gihapon in the phase 4, which is the post-marketing surveillance. Okay, what about the hospital pharmacy research? What is the role or what is the focus of the research? What is the role of the pharmacist and the importance of research in hospital pharmacy and the focus nila? Now, in the hospital pharmacy, they focus more on the reason also for having research is on the advancement of pharmacy practice and healthcare. Are you still there? Advancement of pharmacy practice. Every now and then, they have to do research to improve the pharmacy practice and healthcare. That is why the evolution, the changes, the evolution and changes of the pharmacy practice is improved every now and then. Okay, before you only have the dispensing, now the pharmacists go into the counter and talk to the patient and do some counseling. That is one of the advancement that the pharmacists should perform and research. And then in these different pharmacy practices, i-research pa po na nila if the pharmacists are really doing the pharmaceutical care, and what is the effect of this pharmaceutical care or the impact of pharmaceutical care to the patients in the hospital. Okay. Else, they also generate new knowledge for improving the therapeutic use of medicines and overall healthcare outcomes. So, in research, gihapon nila. Okay, next, improvement of quality of existing services in the hospital. How the pharmacists can improve their services, specifically in the patient care. Okay? Improve patient outcomes. Now, in the hospital, they can really monitor the patient. They can really monitor the therapeutic activities or the therapeutic journey of the patient. So therefore, they can also monitor the outcomes of the patient using therapeutic drugs. Then another focus is for drugs that are evaluated in the hospitalized patients. Before they are marketed, the hospital pharmacists perform clinical trials either to check the effect of the drug. So it is very clear that pharmacist is involved in clinical trials, and these clinical trials will help also in the development of the drug, whether or not it is effective or not. Since it is in the hospital, so they would be performing the phase 2 using the investigational drug to, or applying the investigational drugs to the patient. No? Kaya ang sa clinical trial phase 1, they are applied to healthy individuals. So phase 2, applied to siya sa patient. Okay, and that is done most often in the hospital, and ang pharmacist ang involved in the clinical trials done in the hospital. Pharmacists can do research studies about drug plasma concentration, its bioavailability, the data which are involved in the individualization of drug dosing in the patient, That is the role of the pharmacist, the contribution of the pharmacist. No? What about the role of pharmacists in drug utilization review? What is drug utilization review, or DUR? It is defined as an authorized, structured, ongoing review of healthcare provider prescribing, pharmacist dispensing, and patient use of medication. So, unsa man ni collaboration ni siya of healthcare provider prescribing, mga doctors, the pharmacist, and the patient use of medication. DURs involve a comprehensive review of patients' prescription and medication data before, during, and after dispensing to ensure the appropriate medication decision making and positive patient outcomes. So, in this review, the medication is really monitored or followed up before, during, and after dispensing. So this is really a very important activity of the of the healthcare provider. So connect jud kayo ang pasyente ani. Are we practicing this? Yes, this is often practiced in the hospital kay monitored man ang pasyente in the hospital. Okay. So by the interaction of physician and nurse, the pharmacist shall collect data for drug utilization review. So unsay role of the pharmacist dire? They will collect data for drug utilization review because they have the patient's prescription, and they have the data for medication. So they will have a collaboration between the physician and the nurse, and this is the role of the pharmacist for drug utilization review. After taking the data, the pharmacist researcher determines the benefits, risk, cost effectiveness, overdose, underdose, misuse of therapeutic class of drug. So this would now determine the patient's outcome. Kay ma-determine naman nila ang whether it is effective ba siya, overdose ba siya, or underdose ba siya, or misuse ba ang drugs administered to the patient. And not only that, it would also determine the effectiveness of the drug. Cost effectiveness. Kung kani ang gamiton, barato ba siya, gamay, mahal ba siya, what would be the total expenses of the medications that is or that are administered to the patient. So, okay, that is also the data, or that are the data, those are the data that are needed and which the pharmacists provide this data. What about the role of pharmacists in clinical research? When we talk about clinical research, that would mean, okay, I need your participation now. When we talk about clinical research, what comes to your mind? What do you understand, or what comes to your mind when we say clinical research? Yes, Chu? Reyes?
For me, Doc, clinical research is kanang something about researching about human human health, Doc, and where it focuses on kanang sa improvement kanang Doc about sa mga knowledge sa mga ailments, diseases, and how to develop mga tests and diagnostic tests or procedures for the treatment of the patient and ensure the patient care, Doc.
Yes, very good. because when we talk about clinical, that involves person, that involves patient, that involves the individual. So you are going to do research on medications nga unsay effective ba, unsay mga necessary data nga kinahanglanon that are needed for the patients to have a patient's outcome, good outcome regarding the medication or therapeutic effect of the drug to the patient. So that's clinical research using or applied or using people or individual. So when we say also preclinical research or preclinical trials, that would mean using animals. So kung preclinical, meaning animals ang gigamit as test, meaning the drugs are applied to animals. So mana nga uh, previously when during the wala pay pandemic nag face to face pa, the research involvement or activities in pharmacy are all experimental. In other words, we use animals for preclinical study. And then and that preclinical study will now be taken as a basis for the next step, which is the clinical trial, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, to be used for individuals. Okay. So preclinical animals, clinical individual or people. Okay, let's continue. Thank you for that, Drew. Clinical research is a scientific study of the effects, risks, efficacy, and benefits of medicinal products. These are carried out prior to the release of medicine in the market. So this would be, as I have shown to you, the drug and development table, kani siyang clinical research, diri ni siya dapit sa phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, then submitted to the regulatory agency prior to the release of medicine in the market. Okay. Clinical research is a systemic study of new drugs in human subjects to generate data for discovering or verifying the clinical, pharmacological, and adverse effects of with the objective of determining safe and efficacy of new drug. So this is very important output, the safe and efficacy of the new drug, which are tested in human subjects to verify clinical, pharmacological, and adverse effects of the drug. Trials are undertaken in various stages and studies are conducted after the launch of new product to monitor safety and side effects during the large-scale use. So nato phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. In the first 3, gamit na siya of large-scale nga use of participants. There are 3 major roles of pharmacists that they can play in clinical research according to Dr. Pictin. 1, as co-investigator or study coordinator in investigation-initiated trials, pharmaceutical drug trials, bioavailability and bioequivalence trials. Among the responsibilities of a pharmacist in that role are administering drugs, taking blood samples, and processing such samples as blood plasma. So these are the responsibilities and roles. of the pharmacist. Another key role of the pharmacist can consider is in project management. A project manager's responsibilities include stakeholders meeting, data quality check, development of standard operating procedures, personnel training, management and for a while, management and execution of research and designing questionnaires. Balik lang tawag. Balik lang tawag. So a project manager, which is also the pharmacist, is responsible or includes the participation of stakeholders and then data quality check and then development of standard operating procedures. So daghang responsibilities of the pharmacist as a project manager. Okay, number 3, data analysis or investigation. This role encompasses the writing of manuscripts or reports for publication and presenting at scientific meetings or to stakeholders and policy makers. Okay, so unsa ilahang roles? As co-investigator, as project manager, or as data analysis or investigation. So in the clinical research, this could be the roles of the pharmacist. Okay? And these are majority of the pharmacists that are undergoing research that they are known as pharmaceutical scientists. Okay? And yes, these are all that we discussed this morning on the roles of pharmacists, different roles of pharmacists in drug discovery development, hospital pharmacy, and clinical pharmacy. Okay? I will not hold you long this morning because the rest of the time you will be given an activity on that is activity number 7. Activity number 7 on national and international pharmacy organization. I will post that in the Google stream, no? Ang next activity, this would be the last activity for semifinals. The organization, the national and international pharmacy organization. So I will post it now, or you already have the knowledge what to research on this different organization. Okay? So you are going to use the rest of the time for those who have not yet submitted their activity number 6. You can go on. You can have this time. And for those who have already submitted, I will post the activity number 7 and the deadline. Okay, if there are questions, you may raise your questions now.
None for me, Doc.
Wala na question. Okay, the semi-final examination will be next week naman, no? Are you aware of that?
Yes po,
Yes,
Doc.
Next week.
Doc.
And
Yes,
then
Doc.
okay, and the schedule for perspective will still be the same and the second day of the examination. The coverage for the examination would be activity number 6. Coverage for the examination activity number 6 and 7. But we are going to have a quiz on on Friday, which would include two, no. I will not include activity number 7 for the quiz on Friday. Only activity number 6 and our discussion this morning on the roles of pharmacists in research, in clinical and hospital research, and drug development. Okay? Again, we will have a quiz on Friday. The coverage will be activity number 6 and the roles of pharmacists that we have discussed this morning. That would be on Friday. So Friday is our last meeting before the semifinals. Am I correct?
Yes, Doc.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes,
Doc.
Doc.
So in other words, we will have the exam on Friday and direction na sa semifinal exam on Tuesday man to, ang second day man ta, no, ang perspective, and the coverage will be activities 6, 7, and including what we have discussed this morning. So ang madugang lang, what will be added for the semifinal exam coverage is activity number 7. And that activity number 7 is the international and national pharmacy organization. And you can find that in the internet, and you are so good in mining, in getting information from the internet. So I would be expecting you to include the local, no? Ang local, national, local, national, and international. When we say local, what is the pharmacy organization in the local? Meaning, sa Cagayan de Oro, unsa man ang organization sa pharmacy sa Cagayan de Oro. Unsa may organization sa pharmacy national, no? One is the PPHA, another is the PACOP, which we are member, and other organizations of different sectors. Sa industrial pharmacy, unsay pangalan sa ilahang organization. Sa hospital pharmacy, unsay pangalan sa ilahang organization. Do you know what I mean? So the different pharmacy organizations nationally, internationally. So we have the FIP sa international, we have the different clinical pharmacy organizations international, okay? That would be included in the semifinal exam. Pero walay labot sa quiz on Friday. Sa quiz on Friday, again, activity 6 and our discussion this morning. Okay? Any comments? Any reaction?
None, Doc.
Okay. So if there are none, then you may now leave so I can post the quiz, the activity number 7. Okay?
Okay, Doc. Thank you
Thank you, Doc.
Welcome.
Thank you po,
Thank you,
Doc.
Doc.
God
Thank you,
bless
Doc.
Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you po,
Welcome.
Doc.
Thank you po, Doc.
Welcome.